Hey everyone, what inspired this video is a very vivid nightmare I had just a few days ago, and just so we're clear, the first story in this video is a description of said nightmare. I felt that it'd make a fun video talking about nightmares because I often have insane dreams. Anyway, with the whole premise explained, I think I should just start the video. Number 1. This is a nightmare I had last Saturday night after a night of drinking with my girlfriend. I remember falling asleep and suddenly being at an airport with my dad's side of the family. The airport was entirely empty. All the lights were off, but there was still enough light shining through the windows in order for you to see everything clearly. The airport was entirely devoid of people, and I couldn't help but feel unsettled in the dream by the uncanniness of the whole situation. As we left the airport, it became clear that we were staying in a pretty hot country. It must have been Spain or something like that, because the architecture reminded me of something in that corner of the world. I remember we got into a small van where there were no seats for some reason and drove somewhere. It was already getting late when we arrived at the hotel we were supposed to be staying at, or, well, hotel isn't exactly the word I'd use to describe it. The hotel itself looked a bit like a giant staircase. It started high up, and then gradually on every step you'd go lower and lower down until you'd reach a large beach, where I assume you'd do whatever it is you do on a beach. How the staircase hotel worked is there were a bunch of rooms that run horizontally across the step you were on, and in the middle of the step were actual stairs you could walk down to reach the next step. Littered horizontally across the edge of every step were big beautiful green trees that stopped at the stairs in the middle on both the right and left sides of the step, which means that the trees kind of loomed over the tents below them. I think it's also important to mention that each step was about 200 meters in length. It was really beautiful. Also, there were no houses in the entire hotel either, just tents under the bare sky. Imagine a bunch of large line-shaped tents with plastic windows and grass floors. Very outdoorsy. And I remember thinking that how the sun was setting on them and how the plastic windows lit up orange as the sun turned the sky pink was absolutely beautiful. It went on for a while. Everyone just stood there watching. My entire family together watching the sunset. The dream would have been amazing if it hadn't been for what happened next. We packed our stuff and tried to get settled into our tent when I happened to look out the plastic window on the roof of the tent and catch a glimpse of a creature in the tree right in front of it. I was only able to see it because of how the trees on the step above loomed over our tent. It was small, lanky, long limbs, fingers that reached forward unnatural distances and looked as sharp as pocket knives. It had a small torso, with skin stretched so unnaturally thin it made the thing look as if it were a skeleton, wrapped tightly into a vacuum-sealed trash bag. Its mouth was small and impractical looking, is the best way I can describe it. It must not have had a jaw because its mouth never closed, and it had small triangle-shaped teeth circling the whole way around its circular mouth. Its eyes were horrifyingly large and circular. The creature had no eyelids, no hair, and it couldn't have been taller than 3 feet. I barely managed to croak out a "what the fuck" before the thing jumped some 4 meters in the blink of an eye and landed on our plastic roof, making absolutely no sound at all while doing so. I was the only one who saw it. I noticed that I couldn't see anything outside. Everything was pitch black. The row of lights that had lit up the tree line had been turned off, and nothing outside was visible except for what little light escaped from our tent could light up. I immediately went to go get my parents, and when I entered their room, I sighed, noticing that they were all okay. "Are you alright?" I could hear my little brother ask me. "Look, there's a thing outside. A creature. Real fucking small one, alright? But it jumped on the roof, and I didn't even wait a second before coming here to tell you." They all dismissed me and went on to keep doing what they were doing. One thing about me that you guys have to know before I go further is that I don't like staying scared. If I think I see something, I check again. So I decide to go out to see if I had just had my first hallucination. I exit the tent into the pitch blackness, and as soon as I do, all of the lights facing the tree line turn on, and I hear a noise. The best way I can describe it is like insects scurrying around. I look behind me at the tree line and notice that every single tree is crawling in those things, all of them scurrying around in the leaves like cockroaches stumbling over each other. They kept moving until I stammered another "what the fuck," which is when they stopped, looked down at me, and shrieked. I ran into the tent and took my little sister onto my shoulder and just ran. I remembered knowing that my family would follow me if I did that. I remember the horde of creatures crawling after me. I looked back and I couldn't see the ground because of how many of them there were. Suddenly, one of them caught my leg and I remember falling, and then I woke up. It was probably the most unnerving and vivid nightmare I've ever had, and you can bet your ass it'll be a while before I forget it. Number 2. This was my most recent terrifying nightmare. I've had many, but this one was really different from the rest. So for some backstory, when I was a little kid, I lived in Miami. From the stories I've heard, the neighborhood I lived in was the hood. When I was about 5 years old, we left. So now onto the dream, or should I say, nightmare. My parents decided that we were going to visit our old house in that neighborhood in Miami. When we got there, we noticed it was blocked from the rest of the city, with a tall metal gate going around the whole neighborhood. The gate didn't have an opening. Instead, it led to a small hallway kind of thing. For some reason, a kid from my current school was now there, waiting at the gate with me and my family. So I got inside the neighborhood and it was run down and broken. Fast forward a few hours in the dream, my fam and my friend found the childhood house and decided to check it out. My brother went into his room, my parents in theirs, and my friend, my sister, and I were chilling in the living room. We were standing there for a few minutes when my little sister said something stupid to my friend, like something a 5-year-old would say. I can't really remember. He got really pissed and turned to me and said he was going to hit her. He then proceeded to go into another room and get a golf club. I tried calming him down and calling my parents, but no one listened. In an effort to protect my sister, I took like 3 hits with a club. After a few more hits, he picked up my sister and bit her on the neck. I tackled him to the ground, still with my sister in his jaws, blood everywhere. I tried to punch him, but it didn't do crap. But I kept trying. After a few more seconds, I started jabbing a stick into his ribcage, but nothing was working. The cops came and took him away. The look in his eyes was unforgettable. I've never seen so much hate in someone's eyes. We stayed in that house for years. I was watching the TV one day on the TV that just appeared in the house. It said that my friend went crazy in prison and stayed in his cell for days, never touching light, and that he carved a smile into his face. At the end of the broadcast, it said that he went missing from his cell a few days ago. I broke down because I knew he was coming for me. I grabbed a knife and tried to kill myself. Before I got the chance, I looked behind me, and there he was. Bleached white skin, wearing all black and with a bloody smile on his face. He aggressively yelled, "Suicide!" and "Slit your throat." That was one of the most vivid nightmares I've ever had. It was super trippy seeing that same friend at school the next day. The closest thing I could find to the look in its eyes in that nightmare was probably the old picture of Jeff the Killer, but you probably won't find it. Number 3. I just woke up in a sweating mess this morning after being stalked by Randy. I'll explain. I was dreaming. I was having a completely normal day when I got a text. "I see you," from Randy. I don't know a Randy, so I was a little concerned. If you look through my post history, you can see that I recently had a wild night out. I figured it must have been someone I met at the bar, but still, it gave me a creepy feeling very fast, as dreams tend to do. I was suddenly at home and I got a text from Randy saying, "You're a horrible mother, and now everyone's gonna know." I was like, what the fuck? Who is this? He replied, "Randy. Look, I don't know who this is, but please delete my number." To which they replied with a video of me laying on my couch passed out from a few weeks ago. In my real life, I was napping on the couch one day, wearing those clothes. He then sent a video of me leaving my mom's house, and then another driving my kid to school. These are very real memories, and in dreams, it just makes it that much creepier. I was soon getting flooded with videos of embarrassing, private, and intimate moments I've had. I was very scared, and not knowing that it was a dream, I panicked. I went to Reddit as one does and typed in "Stalked by Randy." Turns out there were many people who were being stalked by Randy. The same number in different parts of the world, same MO. I connected with many women who had a similar story and were also just scared. Just as it was getting good, I woke up. I was petrified to look at my phone. No, this isn't the part where I check my screen and have a text from Randy. But it is the part where I'm very much scared and thinking that it was real life, and I don't even want to look up the 3 words on Reddit. Every sound in the house scares me. I finally decided to look it up. Thankfully, it was just a dream. I looked up the meaning, and it said something along what I understood to be, "You did something in the dark that you don't want to come to light." And that makes sense. I have been drinking a lot, and I have been slacking off with my parenting. Either way, that's one of the creepiest dreams I've had in a while. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. I have a lot of scary experiences, especially terrifying nightmares like the one I just told you about earlier, so if you want more nightmare content containing my own personal ones, I'd be more than happy to tell you about more of them, along with more nightmares I find on Reddit, and I can definitely consider making this a series if this one does well. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for all of the amazing responses to my previous videos, especially the boxing one. I really did not expect that one to do this well. And with all that being said, until next time, stay safe.